Hello and welcome. This is going to be part 2 of a series in my quarterly business retreat videos. So if you missed part 1, I'll go ahead and leave a link down below in the description box so that you can watch that one first, because this one will not make sense without that first video. So go back and watch part 1 first, and then come back here and watch part 2. At the end of March, early April, I took a first quarter business retreat, and I basically documented the whole thing in video. And so I am sharing that with you in this series of videos. So I'm excited to share with you again. I am going to be walking through a few large concepts, and just in terms of thinking about kind of like your business as a whole versus as different pieces. So I'm excited to jump into this video. And if you have any questions, make sure you drop them down in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to my newsletter so you're the first to know of new YouTube videos that come out. Let's jump right in. Welcome back. Today is day 2 of the quarterly business retreat for Q1 2023. Now, I woke up, got myself ready. I went to have breakfast. I had a lovely breakfast. I'll insert some shots here. And I had some good time to journal while I was eating breakfast. It was just a perfectly lovely morning. The first session today was with my newest team member. So it was just me and her. And we discussed some really major things. It was actually nice because we went outside for kind of the first part of our discussion, and the sun was shining. It was just a beautiful day to kind of just start talking about business stuff. So we started out and we talked about core values. I'm going to link below kind of the list that we used. And what I really want to do is start defining what are the core values for my business. I've never done this before. I heard someone else doing this, and I thought this was a great activity that we can do all together. So I did that with my newest team member this morning. I'm going to do that with my transitioning team member this afternoon. And I kind of want to see if there's any commonalities, and then kind of deduce our core values from there. So I also talked about kind of maybe redefining what my vision and mission statement are as well. But first I wanted to kind of develop the core values. My mission statement is on my website already, but I thought maybe it's an opportunity to touch base on that and potentially, edit it if we want to. So after that, we came back and we met with another team member, and so that was a great meeting. It was good to kind of get a different kind of perspective involved. And then I gave my new team member a kind of a rundown of all of my clients and some of the tasks that we do for my clients, and also some of the challenges that we faced and how we have overcome those challenges this year. So that was kind of a lot of information that I threw at her. But within that discussion, we also talked about her role and some of the tasks that are involved with that. And what I wanted to do was narrow in on what are some goals that we can create based off of those conversations. So I like to use the SMART method, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That's the acronym for SMART. I also did a video on creating SMART goals, so I'll go ahead and link that down below. But when we were discussing kind of my clients and her roles and tasks, we sort of developed those goals, I would say, naturally. So I think it's just now we need to solidify them. So write them down and be specific, make it measurable, make it achievable for her, and make it time bound. So my next session is with my current VA who we're transitioning, and I also kind of want to go over goals with her as well. So I like the fact that part of the SMART goal method is to make it achievable. I'm sorry if you're hearing noise. I have no control over this. I think maybe the neighbor is taking a shower or something. So hopefully you can hear me just fine. But yeah, so in my next meeting, I'll also go over the core values with her, and we'll also discuss Q2 SMART goals. I like the fact that with SMART goals, you make it measurable and you make it achievable. So only create this goal within these constraints so that you can actually meet that goal. I think a lot of times with goals, we kind of shoot for the stars or shoot for the moon or whatever, and it almost seems like it's not achievable, and it's kind of just out there. And if you're always working towards that goal and you never get there, I think that there's a little bit of kind of like, am I doing this right? You start questioning yourself, and I really don't want that to happen. I really just want to create an environment that people want to like work with me, and they want to thrive in what they do, and that they're doing things that they're passionate about. So that's kind of my focus when I bring on new team members, and just make sure that this is within their zone of genius. And I love the fact that we're going to create these SMART goals. It's going to be specific, measurable, achievable, and time bound. So that's my little spiel for the first part of day 2, and I'll check back in with you guys a little bit later. All right, we made it to the end of day 2. We have one more day left in this business retreat, and I'm really excited about that. I wanted to briefly touch on some of the things that we covered in my last session. Now, in my previous recap, I did talk about like the core values, the list that we wanted to go through. And so I did that again with my creative manager. And I think we're gonna kind of like finalize some of those core values in tomorrow's session. But in today, we really discussed kind of like the training session on how to piece out her like assistant type duties and how we would train our new person. So we were like super specific, and I used the SMART goal method. So we were super specific. It's got to be measurable, achievable, it's relevant, and time bound. So we made sure that we were touching on each of those aspects when we're talking about like in Q2, how we're going to train our new person and transition to kind of like these 2 new roles in my business. And I felt like we did a really great job of piecing everything out. So when it comes to Q2 for my business, I think we're in a really good spot on our goals. I think that's as far as like internally. I think I have to come up with more like external goals for myself for Q2, kind of like client related and team related. And so we touched on the content piece of it already today. So that is squared away. I'm really excited about it. We've got kind of like a lot of busy things that are happening in the month of April. So we're going to be busy, but we also have our YouTube schedule already like figured out. So that's wonderful. So we're really excited about that. In the last session that I had, we also touched on kind of like preparing for Q3. So at the next quarterly retreat, like what are we gonna do? So I don't normally do like a 3-day situation. I usually kind of just dedicate 1 day to it for each quarter. So this is kind of like why I'm recording this, is just to get it all documented. And it's also good for me to reference in the future. And if it's helpful for you too, like I might as well share it, why not share it? So I think, for the next quarterly type retreat, we might just do like a 1-day event so that it's not as intense. There was just a lot of like planning and like things that we needed to get down in the nitty gritty about for this quarter. So like really specific to this quarter. I think it's a good idea to do like go away for a retreat every so often. Like maybe I'll do this twice a year versus like 4 times a year. So I'm still kind of like digging through that. Based off of this retreat, we will be putting more of a like framework in mind when it comes to like how we approach retreats and how we approach these types of discussions. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think we're kind of like laying the groundwork, we're creating a foundation, and it's something that we can kind of bounce off from. So that's all I have for you for day 2. Stick around for day 3 and I'll share with you what our final discussions are about.